Welcome to Ennis for round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship. As over 90 competitors prepare for battle, we can't help but ask the question, where did Ireland's love affair with drifting come from? Who better to ask than Ireland's most successful driver to date?
Started just through a lack of events in Ireland, basically. We had a drift event in Ireland and it was kind of laughable to what it is now, but it was all E30 BMWs and A86s. So yeah, and anything rear wheel drive I would have really attended at the time. So it's been a long road. I mean, I started drifting just for the fun of it, like an awful lot of people that do it now. You know, it was just fun, and I guess I got in at exactly the right time, so to speak. And I started building a car, must have been 2003 or 4, just not in, you know, because it was just something I wanted to do. I had an A86 street car and I decided to take it off the street and build it as a competition car. Drifting has given me, not to sound kind of philosophical or anything, but like a sense of purpose or something. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have it. I remember when I won my championship in 06, it was a really big deal. That was the year we went to Silverstone to the D1 driver search and won that, and then we had the D1 exhibition in Silverstone, and we were 5th overall or something against my heroes at the time. And came back to Ireland then after that to go to Mondello to battle my neighbour in the final event. 2 of us, myself and Damien Mulvey, being top of the leaderboard, and just so worked out that we ended up in the final that day. It was just, you know, perfect. You couldn't have written a better one. The series has just such a fantastic direction since day one of how Graham pushed it, or whatever, you know, constantly evolving regarding rules, regarding criteria for judging, regarding even silly things like clipping points and challenging the drivers to run crazier and madder lines and faster stuff and things like that. You know, I go all over the world and rarely do I see as good judging as I see in IDC. I know you can't keep all the people happy all the time, but the amount of controversial decisions in Ireland is zero compared to what I experience in other places. Yeah, I mean, I go to all the IDC events for sure, as a spectator, definitely, all the time. I enjoy watching the semi-pros just as much as the pros. You know, Saturday is a great day, and I think a lot of the competitors will say that. It's very rare you go to an IDC event and come home after a crap weekend. You know, everyone just has a good time and can't wait till the next one. And that is the best thing about Irish drifting. Yeah, looking forward to round 3 Ennis this weekend. Get to meet all the guys again, and we'll be there Saturday for semi-pro and pro. So you know, it's all still to play for in that, and anything can happen in that little bowl of a track.
Darren McNamara ignited the idea that with enough talent and commitment, drifting can become a career, and winning the Irish Drift Championship would make the world sit up and take note. But every pro drifter must start their career somewhere, and in Ireland that means negotiating one of the most competitive semi-professional classes in the world. Get your car up to spec, pass the necessary safety regulations, and you must first fight it out in qualifying with 64 drivers competing for 32 spots in the twin battles. With 5 outer clipping zones placed along concrete walls, Ennis would prove to be a risk-reward event. And with the top 8 drivers getting a shot at the pro qualifying on Sunday, the reward was even higher. Ennis is the smallest, most technical track on the IDC calendar, but in turn proves a great eliminator of huge budgets and horsepower. Semi-pro cars range from the near standard to the custom built, but at round 3, driver skill and resolve would always be the biggest advantage. Unknown entrants can become household names over one weekend, and every IDC Saturday will produce its own heroes. Let's see who made it into the final 4. So Kieran Stack and Francis O'Shea would battle it out for 3rd, and Stephen Hart and Colin Carberry would fight it out for a place on the top of the podium. Local man Francis O'Shea and Infinity Tyres' Kieran Stack would battle it out for 3rd. A spin before the line from Stack would hand the victory to O'Shea. Stephen Hart and Colin Carberry would battle it out for top spot. Carberry clips the wall in his lead run, but Hart powers through in his 160 brake horsepower Corolla. Both drivers battling extremely hard for their first IDC podium. Stephen Hart holds a small advantage going into the second run. Could an underpowered Corolla take the win in semi-pro? Carberry puts in a solid chase run, and this one will be a tough decision for the judges. The crowd goes crazy as Stephen Hart takes the win.
I'm delighted with the result today. Third, I'm over the moon with it. I prefer better, but third is brilliant in a home event. Delighted with myself.
Today, struggled with qualifying and practice this morning. First run wasn't great. Again, second run, happy enough again. Didn't mind hitting the car. And again, in battles, if I hit the car, didn't worry. Turned out for the better. Second place. Couldn't be happier.
Yes, over the moon. It's happy out. Can't believe it. Roll on tomorrow for the crack, yeah.
It's tight at the top of semi-pro as Dermot O'Connell and Jack Shannon sit joint first. Daryl Barnett and Richard Bradley are still very much in the hunt with 2 rounds to go. Let's move on to the pro class and the driver who's been dominating this season, James Dean. After overcoming a tough decision against Martin French, James would go on to beat Gavin Lennon in the final and take the round 1 win, and follow that with a second place at Punchestown. Shane O'Sullivan would lead the chasing pack with a super lap win at round 1 and a third position on the podium at the first 2 events. The ever-consistent Adrian Walsh would sit third in the championship, and we caught up with Adrian as he prepared for round 3.
Back in 2005 then I bought my first rear-wheel drive car, which was actually a Toyota Corolla. It was a boot shape, very same as this. It had a 20 valve engine in it. The whole drifting community really is such, all the people in it are such great crack and fun. I just loved going to the events and meeting all the people every once a month. It's brilliant. It does take a lot of time out of my life. In the evenings and that, there's nearly always something to be done after every round. I find I'd have to say I'm probably addicted to drifting. There is a certain amount of pressure, alright, especially with sponsors and that. Winning the IDC championship to me would mean a great deal. I put so much blood, sweat and tears into this car over the last year. I've built it up from a shell to what it is now. Up next now, Ennis. I'm hoping to do quite well in Ennis. Actually, it's a small technical track. It seems to suit the Corollas better. So, and of course, I know James will be on it all weekend, but hopefully we'll give him a good run anyway.
So on to a washed out pro qualifying. Daryl Barnett would be the first victim of the treacherous conditions. After bending a wishbone on impact in his first qualifying run, he had 30 minutes to repair the car before putting in an excellent second run, placing 12th in qualifying. The semi-pro competitor certainly not backing down this weekend and would be one to watch. Shane O'Sullivan would suffer mechanical problems on his first run, so his championship hopes rested all on his second. The Galway man kept his composure and placed 6th in qualifying. Hancock Tyres' Adrian Walsh was handling the wet conditions well, and his run was enough for 5th. Alan Sinnott, our round 2 winner, was continuing form, and the Achilles Tyres low-brain drifters 2JZS14 was tearing it up around the tight Ennis circuit. Sinnott would do enough for 4th in qualifying. Paul Mccarthy would spin out on his first qualifying run and have it all to do on his second. Hoping to replicate his podium from last year, McCarthy would blitz his second run and claim 3rd spot in qualifying. The story of the year must be 13-year-old Jack Shanahan. Borrowing an M3 powered S14 from his 9-year-old brother, while his regular 180SX was still in transit from Europe, he would send the crowd wild once again and place 2nd. But once again, National Kart Centre Falcon Tyres' James Dean would top proceedings, running a perfect qualifying line and even losing his spoiler tip in the process. Dean once again would be the target man for the weekend. The wet conditions threw up some surprise entrants to the top 16. A mix of pros, semi-pros and Australia's own Simon Michelmore would hope conditions would improve for the twin battles later in the day. One driver delighted to qualify after a poor start to the season was Mike Fitz.
Drifting is the coolest motorsport in the world. I saw it about 9 years ago in the flesh for the first time, and ever since that moment I've been completely hooked. I just love it, I love everything about it. I guess my dream is to win the Irish Championship. That's my Everest. You know, eventually I would like to just do one round of Formula D in my life, ever. You know, even if I did that, I could just relax, you know, and be a happy man. But as it stands, I have to win the Irish Championship. I have to do it. The Irish Drift Championship is one of the best championships in the world, I think, and it's widely considered that by everybody in the drift community. We just have the best drivers, and we've got the best organisers and judges, so they keep pushing us and pushing us and pushing us, and as a result we have to raise the bar all the time, and we have to keep getting better and better and better. And a common misconception with you know, people who don't know the ins and outs of the sport is that your sponsors like give you the car to drive. It's not like that at all. You might miss nights out, you want to buy something, you can't. You know, you just have to take sacrifices in everyday life to actually do it. But it's worth it. Every bit of it is worth it. I haven't put any points on the board yet this season, and I'm kind of a bit gutted about that, to be honest. But you know, hopefully our luck will change. We've been trying really, really hard. I mean, we have been really working hard at this. So hopefully now our luck will change for the rest of the season.
Join us after the break for all the action from the Pro Top 16. Welcome back to round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship. With qualifying completed, it was time to move on to one of the unique additions to an IDC event, the NKC Super Lap. With clear skies forecast, the track was beginning to dry as our pro class took to the circuit. The onus of the IDC Super Lap is to grid the top 16 battles. Highest qualifier James Dean would be the first to tackle the now wet and dry Ennis circuit. The Super Lap gives each of the top 16 drivers a single shot at the track to do the best lap they possibly can. No warm-ups, no second chances. After the highest qualifier has made his pass, his run is judged by 3 judges with a maximum of 10 from each judge. The driver with the highest score stays in a safe location on track until they are knocked off the top spot. James Dean would score 24 out of 30 from the off, and the rest of the field would struggle through treacherous surface conditions to match this. Daryl Barnett, a semi-pro driver, would incredibly match James Dean's score, but in the case of a tie, the highest qualifier would remain in top spot. Some pro drivers would really struggle with the challenging grip levels and find themselves scoring zeros, and in turn put themselves at the bottom of the top 16 battle grid. The IDC Super Lap also awards points for the championship, with 8 points for a win, 7 per second, and so on. These points would hold huge significance for title hopes, and all drivers would push extremely hard, but none were a match for National Kart Centre Falcon Tyres driver James Dean, who took top spot, the honours and the Super Lap win. So with James Dean taking the win, let's see how all the rest of the pro field got on in Super Lap. So with Super Lap done and dusted, we caught up with some of our pro drivers to see how the weekend's going so far.
This weekend has been actually tough so far. We broke a diff yesterday off the floor of the car, so I had absolutely no practice, but conditions are much different today anyway. It's very wet, so it's very, very difficult out there today. I'm lacking a little bit of feel with the front of the car, but you know, that's basically something we got to sort out with it. But yeah, I'm happy to be in the top 16.
The weekend's been great so far. It was dry yesterday and practice went really well, and we arrived on this morning and it was really, really wet, so different ball game altogether. A lot of people were pushing very, very hard yesterday and today, but I was lucky enough to qualify first and come first in the Super Lap. There was a lot of luck involved because the other top drivers the track was wet and dry, and they kind of made mistakes and stuff, but I'm very happy to have a good start so far. Looking forward to the twin battles later on.
Yeah, I was happy enough yesterday with practice in the dry, but today, wet weather, the Hankook tyres are performing great, but my car is so light it's floating kind of over the track. But managed to pull it off on the second lap qualifying, made it through. Super lap, clipped the wall a bit, tried my best, but kind of I think I'm mid-pack somewhere, so it seems to be drying up now. Battles should be a lot better.
Today started off very wet this morning. We qualified 4th. Very happy with that. It's tough again, there's always tough here, so very little between the scoring. We've done super lap there, I think we got score 21, so I was very happy with that too. It's tough competition as always here.
Yeah, it's a great start to the weekend. In the qualifying, the first run the car wouldn't start, so we just got one go at the qualifying. Qualified 6th, very happy with that. Super lap, give it all, and on the way out we touched the wall, we caught grip and touched the wall, so a bit of damage done, but no harm. Looking forward to twin battles now.
Let's take a little break from the action and have a look at some of the machinery on show in the Pro class. So you want to build a competitive drift car for the IDC? Well, your options are limitless. Take these two contrasting examples. Wesley Keating's Track Day Performance built 180SX and Brian Egan's Hankook Tyres A86 Corolla. The WKD 180SX is custom built from the ground up by Track Day Performance. Up front, a stroke Nissan SR20 producing over 500 brake horsepower helped by an enormous Garrett turbo. Brian Egan's 86, however, is all about keeping it lightweight. Up front, a Honda F20C S2000 motor helped with some throttle bodies and some cams pushing out 250 brake horsepower. But Brian's car is all about keeping weight down. All fiberglass panels and a sparse interior keep the weight to 770 kgs, extremely light for a drift car. On Brian Egan's 86, if it's not needed, it's not there. Seat, steering wheel, hydraulic handbrake and gearbox makes up the entirety of this Corolla. On Wes's car, the Motec ECU feeds information straight to the dashboard, and a sequential gearbox and steering wheel paddle shift show just how purpose-built drift cars have become. Drift cars need their tyres changed rapidly at the bend. Easier for Wesley Keating now that he's fitted a single nut quick release on the back of his 180SX. Even the tyre setups on these two drift cars are completely different. Brian running 15-inch 205s and Wesley running 18-inch 285s. Both cars can stay with each other on the track, however, due to their different weight and engine setups. So 16 of the nation's best were ready for a battle in Ennis, who would fight their way to the podium at round 3. Superlap winner James Dean would battle semi-pro driver Richard Bradley first, and Dean would put in a near-perfect chase run to eliminate the Northern Hard Charger and cement his spot in the Great 8. Brian Egan would push too hard in his chase run against John Mccarthy, clipping the rear end of McCarthy's BMW and eliminating himself from the competition. Australian champ Simon Michelmore would compete in a borrowed car against Hankook Tyres' Mike Fitz. These two would have one of the battles of the weekend, with the judges needing one more times to find a winner. In the end, Mike Fitz would get the nod and move on to the Great 8. Alan Sinnott was deemed to have taken the incorrect line in his lead run against Jack Shanahan. The 13-year-old phenom would progress to the next stage of competition. Paul McCarthy in the Barry's Motorsport Nankang Tyres M3 BMW would pull a sizable gap on Adrian Walsh in their top 16 battle, and the giant killer would get the call to progress to Great 8 action. A David and Goliath battle took place next between semi-pros Colin Carberry and Northern star Dwayne McKeever. McKeever's chase run was exceptional, but Carberry would hold his own before a spin at the finish line would give McKeever an easy pass to the Great 8. Shane O'Sullivan's title hopes rested on beating previous champion Mike Dean. Huge impact on entry as O'Sullivan comes in far too hot and runs straight through Dean's door. Dean moves on to the Great 8 as O'Sullivan contemplates the ramifications of this mistake to his championship bid. Our last top 16 pairing would be an all semi-pro affair between Francis O'Shea and Daryl Barnett. A spin from O'Shea would hand the win to Barnett, who is staking a claim for driver of the season in his bruised and battered M3. So 8 drivers remain in the hunt for silverware. The top 8 kicked off with a grudge match. John Mccarthy and James Dean would face each other for the third time this year. Mccarthy would push Dean throughout the 2 runs, even clipping the wall hard on exit. But Dean yet again would impress the judges and move forward to the semi-final. Fan favourites Jack Shannon and Mike Fitz would battle it out for a spot in the final 4. This would be an extremely tight battle, and in the end Mike Fitz would do enough to reach the semi-finals. Shannon, however, would prove that he is one of the most aggressive drivers in IDC and will be back for more blood at round 4. Paul Mccarthy was hoping to repeat his podium from 2012 and pushed extremely hard against Dwayne McKeever in his RB26 180SX. But the 17-year-old Northern Star was not backing down today and put in 2 flawless runs to book a spot in the semi-finals. For Daryl Barnett to continue his dream weekend, he would have to beat an on-fire Mike Dean. The most experienced pro in Irish drifting would prove too aggressive for Barnett and join his brother James in the final 4. Semi-final time, and good friends Mike Fitzgerald and James Dean would hold nothing back with a place on the podium at stake. The Hancock and Falcon drivers would send the crowd wild with perfect door-to-door runs, but Dean, considered by many the best chase driver in Europe, would edge this one and move on to his 3rd final of the season. Brother Mike Dean would have to face a determined Dwayne McKeever in search of his first IDC podium. After much deliberation, the judges would grant McKeever the win and set up a dream final with James Dean. That meant Mike Dean and Mike Fitz would compete for 3rd spot on the podium. After a year of poor luck and mechanical issues, Fitzgerald knew this was his chance at redemption and was not backing down against previous champion Dean. Both drivers would leave the judges with some difficult decision making ahead. So all that remained was the final. Run 1 and Dwayne pushes hard on Dean's door, knowing James would take some beating today. Dwayne unfortunately comes too close and backs out to avoid contact, and Dean pulls a small gap as a result. A small error, but still all to play for in the second half of this battle. Run 2 and a huge entry from both drivers. The crowd would erupt as Dean nails his Nissan-powered RX-7 to the door of McKeever. Dwayne's lead run is excellent, but Dean can taste the round 3 win and throws everything he has at this final. Mike Fitz would take 3rd place to the delight of the crowd. It's official, James Dean takes his 2nd round win and 3rd podium of the season, proving many Irish fans' claims that he is indeed the best driver in Europe.
I'm absolutely delighted just to get on the podium in Pro, because we struggled all morning, you know, on the wet, and once it dried up the car was just amazing. I have the best crew in the world, and only for the lads I wouldn't be here, so I just want to thank my sponsors and all the crew. Just an amazing weekend, I'm delighted.
Over the moon, can't believe it. Just me and James and Mike Dean as well. Deadly, really good runs there, and I'm over the moon. 1st podium yet in IDC, so really happy with that.
Everyone was so even here, and everyone was really pushing hard, and to win the Super Lap and come 1st overall in the event, I'm on top of the world right now. No words to describe it.
So James Dean holds a sizable lead moving into round 4 and may even wrap up the championship there. But if drifting has taught us anything, the final rounds never lacked unpredictability. That's all the time we have for round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship. We'll see you for some more action at round 4 from Fermoy in County Cork.